What's up, Glam Squad? It's Johanna with God is Glamorous, where we learn how to live our best lives through Jesus Christ. And speaking of living our best lives, we are going to be talking all about how to become more consistent. So as we head into the new year, it's really important to make sure that you are forming habits that are going to be beneficial and those that are going to allow you to get closer to your goals instead of further away from them. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we're going to be taking a look at the book of Joshua and how Joshua and his team were able to accomplish such a huge victory simply by remaining consistent and, of course, following God's instructions. So if you have never heard of the wall of Jericho, this is the video for you because it's all about being consistent. So after 40 years, the Israelites were ready to inherit the promised land, and as a result, they had to go through Jericho. But this city was a huge fortified city. They had double layered walls. So there was no way that without being consistent, and of course without God's help, there was no way that they were going to allow this wall to come down so that they can ultimately inherit the promised land. But because of them following God's instructions and being consistent, they were able to finally allow this wall to come down. So God comes to Joshua and gives Joshua a specific plan of how they're able to allow these walls to come down. And this plan includes an enormous act of consistency. So God says, "You shall march around the city, all of you men of war. You shall go all around the city once. This you shall do 6 days, and 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall come to pass, when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the wall of the city will fall down flat. All the people shall go up, every man straight before him." So God gives specific instructions. Although they are a little bit odd instructions, Joshua does exactly what God tells him to do. So he essentially says, to summarize this whole thing up, to walk around the city once a day for 6 days. But on the 7th day, walk around the city 7 times. And then before the walls come down, the priests will blow the horns, everyone will shout, and then the wall comes down. And that's exactly what they did. But during this act of consistency, they also go through a series of steps that they also need to take in order for this plan to become successful. But what is really important here is to understand that they did this thing every single day without fail. So number 1, they came up with a plan. And number 2, they carried out this plan every single day. So as you head into the new year, there are a few things that you need to do. Number 1, you need to consult with God and get instructions from God. And how are you able to get instructions from God? How are you able to hear God's voice? Well, number 1, you should be spending time with God, reading the Bible, praying, constantly understanding how God speaks to you, and that is how you're able to gain revelation and direction. So after they got instructions from God, number 2, they created a plan. They understood exactly what needed to take place before that wall was able to come down. And then number 3, they acted on that plan, and they acted on it consistently. All right, so while you are working on your plan and after you've been consistent, there are some really important things that you should also follow. Have you ever heard the quote, "Work hard in silence, let success be the noise"? This is exactly what they did. So as they were marching around that wall for 6 days, they did it in silence, complete silence. So it says, "Now Joshua had commanded the people, saying, 'You shall not shout or make any noise with your voice, nor shall a word proceed out of your mouth until the day I say to you, shout, then you shall shout.'" So Joshua commands the people to not make any noise. And this is exactly how we should be as we're working hard on our dreams and our goals. Work hard in silence. Not every move needs to be announced. And this is exactly what the Israelites did. They worked in silence, and when they were ready to make a noise, that was right before those walls were going to come down. All right, so after you create a plan and when you begin to follow God's instructions and to become more consistent, and when you realize that not everything needs to be announced, not all your actions need to be announced to the public, that's when you have to remember that when you are consistent, you also need to wake up early. You need to be able to take care of the day before it starts. And this is exactly what Joshua and his team do. So it says, and Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. So for those 6 days, they rose early in the morning, and they also did not forget to bring God with them. So when you're working on your dreams and your goals, and while you're being consistent, not only wake up early in the morning, but spend time with God. Make sure that you bring God with you throughout your day, whether it's waking up early and praying, or reading the Bible, or meditating on a scripture, or whatever the case may be. Before you start your day, make sure to bring God with you throughout the day. So this is what happens on the 7th day. But it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner. On that day only they marched around the city 7 times. Again, doing the same thing on the 7th day, they also woke up really early and repeated everything. But this time on the 7th day, they did exactly as God had instructed, and instead of marching around the city 1 time, they marched around the city 7 times. So this is such a powerful statement to just remember that when God gives you a specific plan, you need to consult with God, follow the instructions that God has given you, and then perform those instructions. Follow out those instructions consistently and work at them every single day. And this is exactly what the Israelites did. They went around that city once per day for 6 days, and on the 7th day, that's when they went around the city 7 times. And watch what happens next. And the 7th time it happened, when the priests blew the trumpets, that Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." So the people shouted when the priests blew the trumpets, and it happened when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout that the wall fell down flat. Then the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. All right, so after following the instructions that God had given them, the wall finally came down, and they did not make a single noise until the 7th day, right before that wall actually came down. So again, work hard in silence and let your success make the noise. Not every move that you make needs to be announced. So you can speak and let people know what you're doing, but the best thing to do is to announce your victory right before it actually happens. And there you have it. You have officially learned how to stay consistent by taking a look at what the Israelites have done in the Bible when they followed God's instructions and they did what God told them to do every single day. So if you stay consistent and you focus on the things that God tells you to do, you will ultimately be able to allow the great walls to come down in your life as well. All right, well, let me know if you have any questions. If you're new here, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'd love to have you. I post videos every single Monday consistently, without fail. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. Stay glamorous.